Everybody, it's Emily, and this is ARG Schooling, and I'm talking about Game of Thrones today. So this episode is episode 3. It's called Oathbreaker, and I had the highest of high hopes. And I know I shouldn't do that, but I did. So let's just get into it. So let's start with the North and what is happening in the North. I have to start with Bran and the Tower of Joy because that was where I was just like so hype. I was so hyped. I wanted so badly to see the whole thing play out. You don't even know. I turned to my husband before the episode started and I was like, oh my God, do you realize that like things that people have been speculating on for years could possibly be revealed in this episode? We were gonna get a potential R plus L equals J and Sons of the Harpy reveal. Like, my mind was like, I don't know if I can handle this episode. Unfortunately, it didn't work out to be quite as epic as I had hoped. But okay, starting with Tower of Joy. I was so excited to see the whole thing. So Bran is seeing his father and his 6 friends coming in. This is the end of the war. The battle is pretty much done. Rhaegar's been killed. Aerys has been killed. So all that's left to do is go find Lyanna. Because at this point in time, everyone in Westeros thinks that Rhaegar has kidnapped and raped Lyanna and abandoned her in this tower. That, unfortunately, or fortunately, is not what happened. So, what we know is that at the Tower of Joy, that is where Rhaegar took Lyanna. We don't know why it's called the Tower of Joy. I guess maybe it's just a happy place for Rhaegar. But he brought her there and left the Kingsguard. And they told us, like, Ned asked them, like, why are you here? And not at the battle where the rest of the Kingsguard were. And he said, we are here because this is where Rhaegar wanted us to be. Like, what are they protecting? Obviously, this is a huge R plus L equals J moment. If you don't know what R plus L equals J is, R is Rhaegar, L is Lyanna, and J is their son, Jon Snow. So, basically, Lyanna is not the kind of girl who could have been kidnapped and raped. They showed in the first episode, she was kind of an Arya type of person. She was tough, she knew how to fight, she knew how to ride horses. She was just not the kind of girl who you could just kidnap. And Rhaegar was all about the prophecy. He loved and was like obsessed a bit with prophecy. And he had all these things that he was trying to make happen. And one of them was, he referred to the Song of Ice and Fire, which, if you know, is the name of the series of books. The whole series is the Song of Ice and Fire. And he wanted a child who would become the prince who was promised, Azor Ahai reborn, who is going to save the world, basically, from the long night that was coming. So Rhaegar knew a lot about prophecies. He knew the long night was coming. He knew that was going to happen. And so he was trying to bring about this prophecy. And part of that was, if it's the Song of Ice and Fire, then you need someone from the North who is ice, Lyanna, and you need someone who is fire, Targaryen, which was Rhaegar, to come together to create this one child who would become the prince who was promised. And so I really wanted to see the whole scene at the Tower of Joy. I wanted to see Ned go up. I want to know what was promised. I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point we all know protecting Jon Snow was what was promised, because if Robert had known that there was a child that was Lyanna's and Rhaegar's, I think he would have just killed it. He would have killed him because he would not have wanted that child to exist. It would have been a bitter memory to him, knowing what he lost. I think that that's what was promised, that Ned finds Lyanna in a pool of blood, in a bed of blood, and which would have been childbirth, I would think. And she died in childbirth, but she gave him the baby to bring back and promised to never let anyone know who this baby was. So the Tower of Joy scene was awesome until it stopped. And I was like, no! Why do we have to stop here? Freaking Blood Raven, let us finish the prophecy. Let us finish this scene. But no, Blood Raven is a jerk, and he pulls Bran out right before. But then he does say that what does Bran need to know? Bran needs to know everything. So I am excited going forward to seeing what Bran sees. I think it's going to be awesome. So that's great. Okay, so now I'm going to stay in the north. I'm going to go to Jon Snow because that was pretty cool. So Jon Snow comes back. He's alive, and everyone's kind of freaked out. And Melisandre's like, what did you see? And he says, nothing. That's pretty bleak for him to come back and be like, there's nothing there. So why is he back? And he doesn't understand why he's back. It doesn't make sense to him. And Melisandre's like, there's a reason you're here. The prince was promised. It wasn't Stannis. And maybe it's you. Maybe you could help bring this about. And so now she's going to pin all of her hopes onto Jon Snow. So, which I think she's a lot closer to the prince who's promised if she's with Jon Snow than she ever was with Stannis. So, I loved seeing him kind of get his revenge on the Night's Watch, because I felt like when he came back, he felt so betrayed by them, and I felt like I was waiting for him to say it the whole episode. Now my watch is ended, because I'm like, now that he's back, he doesn't have to stay. He has died and come back, so his watch is ended. He doesn't have to be the Lord Commander anymore. So what does that mean for Jon Snow now? I don't know, but I loved that he was able to like get his revenge kind of, but it wasn't, I don't think he saw it as revenge. I think he saw it as, this is what happens to people who do bad things. If you break your vow, that's your punishment. He grew up in the north with his father, who beheaded people who fled the Night's Watch. If you left, that's what happened. So if you break your vow, and if your vow was to protect your Lord Commander or to obey your Lord Commander, then they die. So, and I also thought it was fitting that he didn't behead them, because that's kind of how he was raised to do things. For him to just be like, just hang them, whatever. I don't know. I felt like that was his kind of dismissal of the whole thing. So I'm interested to see how this all plays out. And before we leave the north, we have to talk about the Bolton'S and their gift. The gift to Ramsey. I was a little bit worried that was what was going to be the gift. But of course it was Rickon, because didn't they mention earlier, a couple seasons ago, when Bran and Rickon split up, didn't Bran tell him to go to the Umbers? They will protect you. Should have gone to Skagos like he did in the books. I don't know if Skagos is any safer, but yeah. So they brought him Rickon. What does that mean? And they killed Shaggy Dog. I was so sad. So that's what? There's only 3 direwolves left. We got Ghost is still alive. We got Summer still alive, even though we haven't seen Summer for a little while. And Nymeria and her giant pack are still somewhere. Are they in the Riverlands? I think they're in the Riverlands. And I think that something will come of that at some point. Maybe not in the show, definitely in the books. But Nymeria has gathered herself a super pack somewhere in the Riverlands where Arya abandoned her. So that wolf is still alive. But gosh darn it, I was so sad that they killed Shaggy Dog. Why? Well, Ramsey has Rickon and Asha. I have a feeling Asha is probably just not tough enough to stand up against this. I don't know. I'm worried that she's going to get, actually I'm worried that they're both going to be skinned. We saw in the previews, they had some people on the X's out in the field to kind of warn people away. Now I'm worried that that's Asha and Rickon. I really hope it's not. I want Rickon to have a better future than that. So I don't know. Okay, let's move on to Essos. So in Essos, let's start with Sam and Gilly at sea. I don't know where this story is going. I mean, in the books, Gilly had more purpose. Now she's just sort of like his salt wife. I don't know. She's just sort of hanging around Sam, and he's gonna go and leave her with his family, which could be interesting to get to meet the Tarleys. So I'm interested to see that out, because Sam and his father obviously don't get along, and so that should be interesting. I'm not sure that she should be left there, but and how is he gonna explain that? This is Gilly. She's not my wife, but she's kind of my wife, and this isn't a baby that she named after me that isn't really my son. I don't know. So I feel like Gilly doesn't really have a reason to be here anymore. In the books, she had a bit more of a purpose, just because they swapped her baby with Val's baby, which was Mance Rayder's wife, who had a baby at the same time as she did, and her baby, because it was Mance Rayder's son, had king's blood. So they swapped babies with Gilly, so that Gilly took the kingly baby with her, and they left little Sam with Val, who I assume is probably going to lose that baby, because Melisandre always needs the king's blood. And you know, she was a weepy mess, and Sam was consoling her the whole time, so it was sort of like she had a reason to be with Sam, and now it's just sort of like she's just following him. So I don't know where that story's going, but I'm interested to see Old Town and the Citadel and Sam's family, so that could all potentially be pretty cool. Arya. I had not talked about Arya this season because her storyline in the first 2 episodes is pretty blah, you know, blind girl getting beat up every time that the waif comes in. So I was excited this episode to finally see something happening. And I loved her talking about her list and her feelings about the Hound. And I loved Arya and the Hound. I love the Hound with Starks. Like, I feel like he was misplaced when he was sent to go and be with the Baratheons and the Lannisters. I feel like his place was with the Starks. Him protecting Sansa was like my favorite thing in the first couple of books, and him with Arya was just awesome. And I love that. I love that she was confused. She wanted him on her list, and then she didn't, because maybe he's not what I thought he was. I don't know. I loved that. So I love that she said a girl was confused. So that was pretty cool. And I love just seeing her kind of learning how to deal with the blindness, and then getting her sight back once she was kind of ready to become this assassin. But I'm still not sure she's really no one. I don't know that she can fully let go. I kind of feel like it's almost like a multiple personality thing now, that she's just switching back and forth. She can be no one, but she can also still be Arya. So I feel like at some point she will be heading back to Westeros, and she will be getting her vengeance. So yeah, I want to see that. Dany is now with the Dosh Khaleen, and I think that she kind of had, it was prophesied. So Quaithe told her, you had to go west to go, you have to go east to go west. You have to go back to go forward. So she's back where she would have been. This is like going back to her origin, basically, even if it's not really her origin, but back to the Dosh Khaleen. And where will that lead? And I think that this will actually be her way to get back to Meereen and Slaver's Bay. I think that she'll somehow, I think it'll have to do with the dragon, because he's still flying around. He's going to come back for her. So I think Drogon is going to give her some edge there. And I think she'll go back and she'll somehow convince them to follow her. Or at least, because the Dosh Khaleen can tell the cow where to go. They are kind of like the High Council. And they'll come together and make a decision, and then they'll tell the cow what to do. So I think that she can probably somehow get some sway there. I don't think it'll be easy. I don't think it's going to happen right away, but I think it will ultimately lead to that, to her getting the Dothraki, at least to Slaver's Bay. Which takes me to Varys, talking to that, whose name I can't recall at all. The woman that was helping the Harpies, basically, the Sons of the Harpy. Now, I knew that at some point we were going to find out who the Harpy is, but this isn't what I was expecting. And I'm not sure that this is going to play out the same way in the books as it is in the show, because in the books it's a lot more like there's a lot of people in Marine who could potentially be the Harpy that is running the whole thing, and there's like several. I don't know off the top of my head how many, but there's at least 5 or 6 different people that it could definitely be. And I was kind of convinced up to this point that it was Dario, because his Dar was my first guess, but they killed him. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's not his Dar, unless his Dar that was a fake death. I don't know, but I don't think it's his Dar anymore. So I was convinced it was Dario. But now Varys is saying that the Sons of the Harpy are actually run by all of the masters in Marine, and basically all the masters of Slaver's Bay have come together to do this, which is kind of like, okay, that's a pretty big bunch of people that we have to deal with now. So if Daddy can get the Dothraki to Marine, or at least into Slaver's Bay, I think that that's going to ultimately help to overthrow them again. But is it really worth it at this point? I don't know. I almost feel like she's wasting her time here. Her real place is in Westeros. She needs to just realize that this is not really her fight. This isn't her place. She doesn't need to do this, because I don't think it's a fight she can really win, even with the dragons. So I think ultimately she's going to come to that realization that this is maybe not the best plan of action for her. So I guess that will be seen. Alright, and I'm going to wrap this up by stopping in King's Landing to talk about all the things going on with the Lannisters. So Tommen goes to the High Sparrow, pretty angry for Tommen, to try to sway the High Sparrow into letting his mother at least go and see the burial site. Why can't she at least go and see where her daughter was buried? But the High Sparrow is definitely playing a game here with Tommen. I feel like Tommen is just too weak for this. He was never meant to be the king. They didn't raise him to be that way. They put all of that on Joffrey. So I feel like Tommen's not really prepared for any of this. And he was kind of babied. He was the baby. He was treated as such. And now he is trying to figure out how to be kingly. How does he needs to somehow become this manly king. And he can't. I don't think he can do that. So when the High Sparrow knows it, he knows that he's dealing with a weak link here, and that this guy is the king, but not really. So his whole we can overthrow an empire thing, it's definitely going to start with Tommen. I don't see Tommen living out this whole season, unfortunately. And that's sad, because he's like the only Lannister that isn't like horrible. Well, not true. I mean, obviously Tyrion's not horrible, and I kind of, in the books anyway, Jaime's not so bad, but I don't know what they're doing with that in the show, So yeah, I think the High Sparrow is just playing a game with Tommen, and Tommen doesn't know. He's not smart enough to understand that this is a game that is being played, and I don't know where it's gonna go. But Qyburn has the little birds. Varys says he can always trust his little birds. He can't always trust men, but he can always trust his little birds, because they're children, and children are very, very loyal to people who are good to them. And these are like not wealthy children. These are poor street urchin children. And so they loved Varys. And Varys was good to them. Varys is not a bad person. Varys does what he needs to do, but he ultimately wants to protect the weak. He wants to help people. He, like the woman in Marine, that he told her, you have a son. If you go down this path, what will happen to him? And she took that as a threat, like, are you going to kill my son? And he's like, no, I'm telling you that's what will happen. If you do what I ask, I'll send you and your son on their way, and I'll protect you, I'll give you all this money, and you'll be safe. And he'll be safe. So I feel like Varys was willing to kind of protect these little birds, and that's why they were loyal to him. I don't know what Qyburn will do. Like, I don't trust him with children. That's not a good idea. So that kind of worries me a little, that all these children are with him. Also of note, they refer to the mountain by his name now. And in the books, he goes by Robert Strong, and he is kind of anonymous. He's this new member of the Kingsguard. And I mean, yeah, some people probably suspect that maybe something is going on here that is not what it appears to be. But I mean, no one calls him Gregor. No one calls him Gregor Clegane. They don't refer to him by that name. So it's interesting that they are in the show. They're not even going to try to pretend it's not him. Everyone knows that this is an experiment that has potentially gone wrong. I don't know. But so Cersei and Jaime go to the High Council meeting, and they're pretty much saying, you're not welcome here. You and your abomination should not be here. And they get up and leave. And I feel like that's probably not going to bode well for the lot of them. Definitely Pycelle's going down at some point, because Cersei's always hated him. But yeah, I think Lady Olenna is in a dangerous place right now. Certainly Kevin Lannister's in a dangerous place right now. So I'm interested to see if she really does send the mountain after them. I don't know. I could definitely see her doing that, but would the risk be too high for her? And honestly, at this point, I don't think Cersei cares anymore. I think that at one point she was willing to play the game to keep everyone in line and on her side, but I don't think she cares anymore, honestly. With the death of Myrcella, I think she's on the last tiny stretch of sanity she has left, and I think it's gone pretty soon. And I think she's taken Jaime with her, and I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's definitely not going to happen. It's not going to be good. And they were alluding to that the last step to Cersei regaining what she had before was the trial. She had to go on trial. And I think she's going to ask for trial by combat, obviously, because she's got this champion. And who will they choose? I think I know, but I don't know if it's going to play out or not. In the books, I think it will. I'm not sure if they're going to do it on the show, because there's the whole thing with the Clegane Bowl, and I really want the Clegane Bowl to happen, but I'm not going to get my hopes up yet because I don't know if we're going to go there. So, predictions for the next episode, which is called, I think, The Book of the Stranger, which I'm intrigued. So I think Jon is going to go live with the wildlings. I think he's going to go and they're going to help him. He's going to build up his wildling army. He's got a giant. What's Ramsey going to do against a giant? That's what I want to. I want to see. I want to see Ramsey's face when the giant just just walks in there. That would be epic. Please let that happen. So I think Jon is going to go with the wildlings. They're going to run into Sansa. And I think between the two of them, between Jon and Sansa, they're going to get the rest of the North. And I know Ramsey's like, we don't need the whole North. I just need the Karstarks and the Umbers. And he says the Manderleys, which I'm like, why are the Manderleys with the Bolton'S? That doesn't make sense. They were always very loyal to the Starks, so I don't know where that's going to go. But he thinks he's gotten enough with just those houses. But there's a lot more houses in the North, and I think that Jon and Sansa are going to pull that together. And I think, too, with Ramsey, if he kills Rickon, well, I think that's going to seal the North against him. I hope. Well, I don't hope that he kills him. But yeah, I don't think that's going to go well for him. And so yeah, I think Dany is going to sway the Dosh Khaleen to get on her side, to go send the Cals to Slaver's Bay. I think the Cal is going to go and go raiding in Slaver's Bay and kind of beat down the Masters. That would be excellent. And like I said, I think Cersei is going to ask for trial by combat. I think Clegane Bowl potentially could happen. Yeah, Clegane Bowl. Sir Gregor versus the Hound. The Mountain versus the Hound. Clegane Bowl. And I really want to see that happen. I really want to see Cersei's face when Gregor dies and she realizes, oh crap, I'm gonna die. I don't know. I think that's gonna be the thing that she uses to take down the city. She's gonna burn the city. She still has wildfire. It's gonna happen. So that is what I think is going to happen. So did you watch the episode? What are your thoughts? Please, let's have a discussion down in the comments and talk about what you think is going to happen, what were your thoughts on the episode as a whole. Let's talk. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.